Good day, everybody. Welcome back. My name's Preston, and for the first time this year, I'm putting my face in the crowd. Hey, so wintertime. Wintertime. So much fun up here in Canada, gotta tell you. So, it's been snowing for the last 2 or 3 days, which beats our previous weather, which was rain and then snow and then rain. So, it's made the roads kind of terrible, but I gotta say, my pickup. It does very well in bad weather, snow and slush and all that kind of stuff. But one thing you guys got to remember is with a pickup, it's got a light back end, so throw some sandbags in there for the season, and so that's what I was up to, and it just got me thinking of this story from the army, and I don't know if you all want to stick around and find out how sandbags relate to a Navy guy and the armed forces, etc., etc., and stay tuned. So yeah, this would be about August 1988. We're in basic training at Canadian Forces Base Cornwallis, Nova Scotia. 8th week out of a 10-week boot camp course. As the weeks progressed, things got more interesting. You start basic training out by doing a whole lot of sewing and folding and ironing and waxing floors, and then finally at some point you start doing some Canadian Forces things, like the gas hut and drill and rifle drill and weapons training. And start of the 8th week of training at boot camp. Got up that morning. We had our morning inspection. Pretty sure they trashed our barracks. Marched down for breakfast. Marched away from breakfast. Headed over to the swimming pool for a swimming lesson class. And those classes were, well, there was the good and the bad. They were fairly brutal classes for physical training, pretty much exhausted by the end of the class. The good side of it was refreshing. We didn't get a whole lot of sleep in boot camp, preparing for morning inspections and whatnot. So we finished swim class and we march on over to the weapons building. So we're going to do weapons training with Sergeant Morley. And I got to explain Sergeant Morley to you. This fella, he's a infantier. He's got to be close to 7 feet tall. He's got arms on him the size of most people's legs. And if you ever seen a cartoon drawing of a man with a very big chest and a very small waist, that was Sergeant Morley. He had great military bearing, which means to say that he was so professional about his every move and how he said things. Very intimidating, but also a great instructor, and also, I'm sure, an awesome soldier. And this particular class, he was teaching us about shooting downrange in the prone position, which is laying flat on your stomach with the rifle pointed downrange. So he picked somebody in the class to demonstrate this, and he picked me. Private Preston, assume the prone position. So I did. There I am laying flat on my belly in the classroom, and rifle pointed, down the pretend range. And Sergeant Morley crosses the room and reaches down, grabs a forestock of my rifle and says, "Can I have that for a second?" And me being the obedient private recruit, I let him have my rifle. Wrong. So wrong. Sergeant Morley was not happy. Sergeant Morley let me know in no uncertain terms that a soldier never surrenders his weapon. And so once he was done jacking me up and he carried on with the class, Told me to resume the prone position once again, which I did. Remember now that it's ingrained in my head to never, ever surrender my weapon. So I'm laying on the floor. Sergeant Morley crosses the room once again, grabs the forestock of my weapon, and now I have become, in my 8th week of boot camp, Sergeant Morley's personal mop. I'll just let you think about that mental image for a minute. Yeah, he dragged me around the room, did everything he could to take that weapon away from me, and it wasn't happening. So, at the end of it, he restates how a soldier never surrenders his weapon, no matter what, on and on and on. Bob's your uncle, that's something they said quite a bit there. Anyway, at that point his attention was diverted from me because Private Nichols had fallen asleep in the class. We were pretty tired from all this training. Anyway, he woke up Nichols in no uncertain terms, had Nichols standing on a chair in the corner at attention for the rest of the class. So weapons class being over, we formed up outside and marched off to the parade square for drill class. And by 8th week, we're not just doing foot drill, we're doing weapons drill. So we get to the parade square, and there's Master Corporal Butt ready for our class. He's going to show us today how to shoulder arms. And what that is when you're standing at attention with your rifle to your side, but the stock of it is at your feet. And then when they call shoulder arms, you flick your wrist and it brings the rifle up to your shoulder height, basically. And it's a movement that, it's a quick movement. Once you master it, it's actually pretty sharp looking. Well, I mean, Master Corporal Butt had it mastered. I think he wrote the book on it. So he's showing us how to shoulder arms, and he demonstrates it, and then he sets us up to do the movement ourselves. So it's practice over and over and over again. It's shoulder arms, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, and then bring the weapons back down, and then shoulder arms, and then bring the weapons back down, and then shoulder arms. We had this fellow on our course who's a Navy guy, Ordinary Seaman Samford, and today was his turn to be screwing up on the parade square, and he just couldn't get this right. And well, none of us could really, and the Master Corporal Butt stood us at ease and stand easy, and he's going to show us this movement again. So puts his pace stick down, and he walks over to Samford, and he snatches his weapon right out of his hands. Well, you could see from the look on Samford's eyes that he was having an internal mental struggle, but he managed to keep his mouth shut. The Master Corporal Butt marched out in front of us, and he showed us shoulder arms like it was right out of the textbook. You couldn't even see his wrist move. He snapped it so quick. Shoulder arms, boom, it's up in his shoulders. He bring it back down. Shoulder arms, boom, it's up in his shoulders. He brings it back down. The whole demonstration was nothing short of awesome. And then Master Corporal Butt marches over to Samford, goes to hand his weapon back, and Samford, all beat red in the face and very visibly angry, snatches it back from the Master Corporal. I'm sure it was a throwback to the weapons class we had just taken, where it was driven into our heads that a soldier never ever surrenders his weapon. But Samford made a mistake that day. Oh no. Oh no. Master Corporal Butt loses it, snaps. He just is all over Samford. He's got him marking time. He's got him doing push-ups. He's got him doing push-ups with his rifle, with his hands wrapped around his rifle and knuckles in the pavement, and he's completely losing it on him. He didn't make the rest of the squad do it. We had to just stand there and watch, and man, Sanford, wrong thing to do. But anyway, later in the week, we got about midweek, 8th week, and I gotta tell you, one thing they had told us every night we had an O group. They told us at the start of the course that they would inspect our barracks every single day of the course, no exceptions. But mid-8th week, we had O group at 6 o'clock. They came in. This is when the instructors are a little easier to talk to, a little more friendly, and they lay out, it's called operations group, and what it is they lay out the plans for the next day, what they expect in the inspections. They do mail call, any sorts of concerns that you have as a recruit, you can bring up to them at the time. And anyway, so that particular O group, they told us, okay, lads, you've been doing really, really super well, and tomorrow morning we'll have a closed locker inspection. We're just going to come through, have a quick look at your beds and your kit on your barrack box and your dress and deportment. And that's basically it. And then they closed the O group meeting and they were gone for the evening. And those of us who had a little bit of a memory, and you know, we were looking at each other like, I don't think there's going to be no open locker inspection. So just to be safe, we made sure everything was up to snuff for the morning. That is everybody except for Ordinary Seaman Sanford. So come the next morning, we're standing on the line at attention waiting for morning inspection. And we hear them coming through the center of the H-hut where the washrooms are, and all we can hear is trash cans banging and trashing around, and our master corporals are just hollering all kinds of swear words and not happy. Boom, the double doors open up. One master corporal goes to one end, one master corporal goes to the other. And as they come in, they go, open your lockers, open your lockers. Well, I mean, most of us kind of knew we were to open our lockers. And they carried on with the inspection. And pretty soon, Master Corporal Butt gets down to the end where Sanford is. And we knew this. We couldn't look. We had to look straight ahead. But we knew this because he was like, Sanford, lad. Yes, Master Corporal. Open your locker, lad. I don't want to, Master Corporal. Open your locker right now. So finally Sanford opens his locker, and he believed them. He believed them at O Group. He believed that they were not going to have an open locker inspection, and his locker was horrible. Nothing was done. Nothing was folded. Nothing was ironed. I believe he had a piece of pizza in there. Clothes strewn about, whatnot. Anyway, the long story short, Master Corporal Butt loses it on him. And he said he had bought a couple of cigars in his shirt pocket just for the occasion. He had Sanford assume the push-up position. He told him, I'm going to light this cigar. He stuck the cigar in Sanford's mouth and he said, no, I want to see smoke. So anyway, it was all we could do not to laugh down at the other end. And our other Master Corporal Yorkston was walking back and forth and making sure none of us had the least bit of a smirk. And this was one of the times I was able to keep a straight face, but I'm telling you, I was dying inside. And this guy was just getting jacked up to the nines down at the other end. Anyway, so long story short, bad week for Sanford. So the following week was ninth week, and that's where you actually go out to Granville Range, and you do a whole bunch of map and compass, you do a whole bunch of shooting on the range, get to learn the SMG, you get to learn all kinds of excellent things, Army things that we wanted to, that's why we came there. Start of ninth week, the punishment they had for Sanford was that everywhere he went, he had to have a sandbag on his shoulder. And they made Private Rayside was his assistant. So when most of us were doing the range shooting, where you shoot from 300 yards and then run to 200 yards, assume a different position, shoot, run to 100 yards, assume a different position and shoot. That was fairly physically demanding, but fun. For Sanford, it was probably hell. Sanford had to have a sandbag on his shoulder. And then when he got to the 200-yard line mark, Rayside had to take the sandbag off. Sanford had to assume the position and shoot. And then get up and then have Rayside put the sandbag back on and then run another 100 yards and then this sandbag off, assume the position, shoot. And to top it all off, you had to pass a certain standard to make it. And, you know, I gotta hand it to the guy. He went a whole week wearing a sandbag, or most of that week. I think they let him off near the end of the week because he'd done it without complaint, learned his lesson. Anyway, I gotta hand it to the guy. He never quit. Never quit. He just kept going. But we never called him Sanford after that. That was, he got a new nickname, and that was Sandbagger. And so after basic training was done, I think it was he probably thought it was a good job that he joined the Navy, because I don't know, I'm not a sailor, or nor have I been one, but I don't imagine they do a whole lot of sandbagging out at sea. Could be wrong. Anyway, that's my story. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying doing this fun military story series, and I plan on doing quite a few more. So I just want to make a little quick shout out here. 3 of my buddies, one from mining and 2 from the military, have birthdays today. So I just wanted to say happy birthday to Dan, and happy birthday to Dennis, and happy birthday to Ross. Guys, I hope you have a great day, and I hope you have many more birthdays to come. Alright, that's the end of my story. If you guys like my stories, you like to be entertained, you want to be entertained more, please hit that subscribe button. You all be good to each other and have a great day now. See you later.